This is great. What's wonderful about all of this is nothing that we're doing here really matters in the sense of how this is unfolding. The important thing is the source of what's behind it. That rainbow that's always hanging over our head is the eternal source of all good, of all love. And that's what we are. And that's what should be motivating everything. All the rest is details. It's all details. Albert Einstein said that I want to know the mind of God. All the rest is details. The details really don't matter. What matters is the goal of knowing the mind of God, of living in that mind and being the presence of that eternal spirit. That's the important thing. We'll always get there somehow, some way. It doesn't matter how we get there. That's why we accept all paths to God. No single path is right for everyone, not even our own. So I'm not going to proselytize to you and say you have to do it this way. We don't have a doctrine and a dogma. That's not what we do. We have a shared discovery of the innate divinity within us. A shared discovery of the innate divinity within the individual. Because your experience is what's important. You experiencing that divinity is what is important. It doesn't matter what you call it. It doesn't matter how you get there. But it does matter that you get there. It does matter that you call it something. It does matter that you develop a relationship and a lifestyle that's based on your true spiritual nature. Can you agree with that? Anybody? Because if we don't, what are we basing our life on? Separation, lack, limitation, guilt, anger. All these other things that we tend to focus our energy on. Fighting against evil. That's a hard one sometimes because you do want the pain to stop. You do want to present a loving place to be on earth. But let's just do that. Let's present a loving environment for our brothers and sisters by accepting it ourselves. By accepting that the universe is one that is all love. God is love and only love, right? That's what we say here. So if I'm going to say that, eventually I'm going to believe it. I happen to believe it. I believe it more today than I did yesterday. So I think it's very important that we maintain our focus on the positive nature of what we call God, the universe, Spirit, Great Spirit. It's always conspiring on your behalf, always. Always, when I decide for good, good is in my life because it's already there, waiting for me. But if I decide that I want to focus on my ideas and my thoughts, my misrepresentation of myself in relationship to you and the universe, then that's the world that I'm going to see. So today we're going to talk about this wonderful idea that greater works will we do. Thanks for working out the microphone, guys. Didn't matter how we got there. We did. We got there. I love that. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. That was a great example because there are times that I think the human race is never going to get there. And I think, whose fault is this? Like, who screwed up the economy? Who shot, like all these things are going on, who caused that virus and who shot all those kids and who's killing people in the streets and why is this happening and why is that happening? But I have to come back to myself. I have to come back to my focus. If I want peace, I'm going to get there. And if you want it, you can get there with me. But that's what you have to want and you have to believe in. You have to believe that you can do the greater works. If you're following somebody like Yeshua, we'll call him Jesus because a lot of people do, but his real name was Yeshua. Yeshua. It was an Aramaic name. And he was a Jewish guy. I love that. So here we are following dark-skinned, Jewish, rebellious, revolutionary. And I know we've misrepresented his teachings a lot, but I would like us to go back to some original teachings. And one of them is that he said unto us that if you believe in me, the works that I do, you're going to do also. And guess what? Greater works than these will you do. Now, of course, this was his response to his disciples at the time. It was like we are now in the weeks leading up to the crucifixion and resurrection. And they were scared, just like we might be scared of what's going to happen to our world. They were scared, and they were looking for evidence of God outside themselves. He went on to say in John 14 that, come on, how long have I been with you and demonstrating the divinity within me? If you have seen me, you have seen the Father, or the source of our being. And then he goes on to say, why do you ask me, show me the Father? Well, he said that first. Why do you ask me, show me the Father, when I've been with you, showing you the source all along? So if you believe that I can show you the source, you're going to do it too. That's the point where we get scared. That is the point where we say, oh, I don't know if I can do that. That's the point. You know, when I heard that, I said, you've got to be kidding me. You know, I grew up Catholic, and I learned all about the miracles. You know, I learned that he healed the sick and raised the dead, and that he walked on the water, and he fed the 5,000, and he calmed the ocean with the power of a word. So how am I going to do those things? How am I going to even come close to that? I've been down the ocean and meditating, and have you ever been able to stop the storm? I think we can. I think we can do it. But I think maybe there's another storm that we need to stop first, and that's the one inside of us. I did have a great experience, and I'll share it with you. This really happened to me when I was 17 years old. I was meditating on the beach. Nobody taught me how to meditate, by the way. I was just quieting my mind. And it was a calm day. It wasn't a stormy day. It was a calm day. And I got into such a deep meditation. I opened my eyes, and the ocean, the waves stopped moving. It was quite a phenomenon that occurred in my mind. I became so calm and so quiet when I looked at the water. The waves all stopped moving, blended together, and it looked like a sea of concrete that I could stand up and walk across. And I said, oh, that's how he did it. Oh, man, that was such a marvelous moment, because I realized it was calming of the mind and the soul. That's how he did it. It was so flat in that moment. And when I got up to walk on the water, it started moving again. And I realized, oh, not quite there yet. Not even close. But we can get there. We can calm the storm within us. That's the most important thing. Thich Nhat Hanh said, people say walking on water is a miracle. But to me, walking peacefully on the earth, that's the real miracle. Can we get along? Can we really love one another? That's the real miracle in this day and age. Can we really love ourselves and each other enough that everyone has enough? That everyone is fed, everyone has clean water, everyone has shelter, everyone has the right to have a family and to progress in life just like everyone else? We say, wow, that's a big task. Yes. Those are the greater things. I think that's number one. I'm going to say that's the number one, first greatest thing I want to say that we have to do. Not only can we do it, we have to do it. First, we have to believe that it can be done. But next, we have to get the storm within ourselves calmed down by the power of our own mind, by the power of our own intention, and our focus on the divinity within us. The focus that the universe is love and only love, that I am cared for, that I am blessed beyond measure, no matter where I find myself. So that's one of those greater things that I think not only he is speaking of, but that I'm speaking of now. Or perhaps it will come out of our common need. The greater things are going to be the things that we need. I don't need more wine. You go down to the Cappies over here if you want to get some wine. You don't need to turn water into wine anymore. He needed to do that because they were at the wedding and they ran out of wine. We don't need to do that. So I don't need to walk on water. I have a friend who has a boat. Tony will take me out on the water. Jack's got a boat. He'll take us out on the water. We'll go sailing with Karen. I don't need to walk on the water. So the greater things are going to be the things that we need. A lot of the diseases that Jesus was healing in people of the time, we have medications for. We have medicines. We have doctors. We have technology. And it's amazing. He was healing somebody who had epilepsy in the Bible. My mom had epilepsy. She lived for almost 90 years, 89 years, 11 months. And she had medications to help her to live that long. I didn't need to perform some miracle of healing with her because she had that. What she needed was something else. She needed me to come over and mow the lawn. That was a miracle for her. I could come here and rake the leaves. She needed the person to get up on the roof and clean the gutters. So that's how I perform miracles around the house for my mom. Walking peacefully on this earth. That's the miracle that we need to perform right now. Those are the greater things. Even though we've had these amazing prophets, these amazing healers, these amazing philosophers, these amazing truths, and all this technology and all this knowledge, we still can't get along. We still are not walking peacefully on this earth. So come on, guys, greater things will you do. And I think that that's one of them. I think that's probably the biggest one. Another thing human beings suffer from is unawareness, spiritual blindness. So one of the greater things that I think we're doing is waking up. It's a global awakening. We're waking up. We're waking up to the truth of who we are. We're waking up to the fact that we were meant to cooperate with one another and not be in competition. That we were meant to fully be engaged in this world as spiritual beings. We're blinded by the illusion of separation. Spiritual blindness. We've slipped into this delusion of consciousness, according to Einstein. I love how he was thinking. And I'm using him a lot because we've got a marriage of science and spirituality. And I think all great scientists are very spiritual, and all great spiritual people are very thoughtful and very logical in their thinking. So he says we have slipped into a delusion of consciousness. We're seeing only our limited perceptions. But the greater thing we can accomplish, I feel, is to widen our circle of compassion, as Einstein says. Our task must be to free ourselves by widening our circle of compassion, to embrace all living things, all of nature in its beauty. Embrace it. Love it. Really become, it's you. That that bird you see singing in the morning, that cardinal you see on the branch, that's you in the form of a bird. That tree outside your window, that's you in the form of a tree. That tree is breathing out and you're breathing in. You're breathing out, the tree is breathing in. We need each other. That cloud you see in the sky, that's you in the form of a cloud. That wave on the ocean is you in the form of a wave. That person sitting next to you who might look different from, that's you in the form of that person. We are one, and we are interchangeable and exchanging our energy and even our atoms all the time. There is no separation. It's an illusion. And so acting as if the separation is real has forced us into a delusion of consciousness and into a delusional reality that's not reality at all. All we have to do is step out of that. Leave it behind. That way of thinking, that spiritual blindness that's brought about by believing in the separation. Step away from that. So I'm going to read the whole quote here from Albert. He says, a human being is part of the whole, called by us universe. A part limited in time and space, he experiences himself, his thoughts, his feelings, as something separated from the rest. A kind of optical delusion of consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us. It restricts us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living things and all of nature and its beauty. What a thoughtful and accurate representation of the human being. And gives us the way out. Compassion, forgiveness, giving, loving, sharing, recognizing our oneness, operating from the truth of who we are rather than the illusion of who we are. So we've reached a defining moment, I believe, in the evolution of humankind. We have an opportunity right now to heal our planet, to heal our species. We have an opportunity to turn this thing around. Starting right here, right now, within each of us, to calm the storm, peace, be still. And to step out and to trust that the miracles will happen just by your presence, just by being there. But we're not going to make much progress if we don't change the way we think. If we're not changing our thinking, if we continue on the same path, if we shrink away from our power and our light, it's not going to change very much. We might evolve, but it's going to be very slow. And you're not going to feel the effects of that evolution. But you can be actively, consciously involved in your evolution. That's what I was teaching not long ago. Conscious evolution. So it's up to us. It's up to us to be the light of the world. Another one of those great things is to be the light of the world. To allow your light to shine. That's a greater thing. That's a greater miracle. Because you really don't believe that you're the Christ. The enlightened one. The illuminated one. The anointed one. You really believe you're something separate from all that. But it's not true. If there's an enlightened and an illuminated and an anointed one, it's you. Absolutely has to be. Has to be you. Who else could it be? You're the one who's in charge of your world and your experience. So that's one of the greater things that we realize. That is such an incredible leap of faith to understand that I am the light of the world. And to discover the same thing about ourselves that all the spiritual masters have discovered, that we are sacred, eternal, spiritual beings in nature, and that we have far more power than we realize. Of course, that's what we fear the most, is our power. That, it's up to us to discover that power by actually focusing our intention on what we want instead of what we don't want. Does that make sense? It's pretty simple. See, what we end up doing is getting involved in this illusion of separation, and we say, well, I don't want that. And then all of a sudden I'm giving power to that I didn't want. You see how that's how it all works to keep that drama going. And if you just unplug yourself from that drama for a moment, you realize that you have the power to really claim what you want. I think it's an amazing thing that we can do that. And we're very afraid of that. See, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear, according to Marianne Williamson in A Course in Miracles, is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, or gorgeous, or talented, or fabulous? Who am I to be the light of the world? Who am I to do the greater things? Well, I'm just a person. I'm just one who really wants to see the greater things. That's all. I'm just one that really wants to experience the greater things. And so it was shown to me, if you want that experience, you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to allow the Spirit within you to do it. You're not going to do it through your ego. Sorry, guys. We were trying that. That's the problem of the world right now, is the ego has gone mad, gone rampant. The ego's insane to begin with. But the idea of power in the hands of the ego or the separated mind or the human being that doesn't know who he or she is the root of all of our problems. All of them are based in the mistaken idea that we are separate from our source and therefore separate from each other. All of them are based in the idea that we are not divine spiritual beings, but that we somehow are limited, weak, and caught in this prison of our optical delusion of consciousness. All of our problems come from that one mistaken idea that we're separate. So actually, who are you not to be? Fabulous, incredible, the light of the world. You're a child of God. You are a child of God, no matter who you are. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. This is the rest of the quote from Marianne, by the way. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. I love that idea. I think we should shout that from the rooftops. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us. It's in every one of us. That's why we sang that song. As we let our own light shine, guess what happens? We unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. All I have to do is let my light shine? Yes. Then you unconsciously are giving people permission to let their light shine. What if they don't do it? Keep shining anyway. Well, I don't see evidence of it. Keep shining anyway. It will happen. It will come. Remember, the goal is the mind of God flowing through me. The details, it's not really important. The important thing is that I'm doing it, that I'm focused on it. The important thing is that I found a clear goal in my mind, and that's to manifest the glory of God within me. That's the goal. Let's keep that clear in our minds. So she goes on to say, as we shine our own light, we unconsciously give other people to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. So you are freeing the world. You are bringing peace on earth by freeing yourself, by liberating yourself from fear. So one of the ways we can do these greater things is in this manner that Marianne suggests. Through our presence, through practicing the presence, being the light. I know it's uncomfortable at times because you feel like you're the only light in the darkness. But that means you're supposed to be there. That means that we need you doing exactly what you're doing, being the light in that situation. So you might make others uncomfortable too at times. That's another thing that happens. You don't just feel uncomfortable by yourself. Others feel very uncomfortable when the light shows up because it's going to shine away. All the darkness you've been holding on to is your reality. You think this is real, this illusion of separation, and all of a sudden the light comes. And it shows you, wait, there's a whole other reality. Come on out and join us. You go, I don't know, I can't do that. It's like when I first learned to swim. I was like, I don't know if I can swim. I really don't have. Oh yeah, jump in. I discovered I could swim. I didn't need a lesson. I just discovered I could swim at that moment. You know, every moment before you take that step, there's this excitement that happens. You might call it fear, but it's really excitement. You know, if you've ever done anything physically challenging, like jumping out of an airplane with a parachute, you're afraid before you jump out. You're like, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. No, I'm not going to do it. Okay. You know, we went hang gliding off a mountain down in Argentina. It wasn't hang gliding. It's parasailing. Is that what it is? We got a big, huge kite type of thing, and you jump off the mountain. Of course, we had somebody, a pilot, and we're strapped to that person. But you have to participate. The first thing you do is you run down the hill, and there's a cliff, and you run to the edge, and you have no choice at that point. You've got to jump. If you want to take off, you've got to jump. You can't stop. It's not going to happen. So that was really fun. Because at that moment, it was so exciting. Oh boy, I'm running down the hill. I'm going to be flying in a minute. Holy mackerel. That was so fun to fly around and to fly circled around in the mountains. And what I noticed was the person who had done it more often, the pilot, he was perfectly calm. He'd done this hundreds and hundreds of times. And so he helped me to have a really positive experience. So the person that you're shining the light on, the person you're inviting into the experience of the divinity within them, help them to have a positive experience with it. I know we're going to be scared because we're jumping off the cliff. But that's the greater things, that you actually do fly. The greater things is that you can trust. You can trust in the Christ within you, and you can trust in those around you who are also following that spiritual path because they've done it for so long. They can help you to feel comfortable in your own journey. That's why we pray together. That's why we get together and pray. That's why we get together and meditate. That's why we continue to have classes and learn more about all the spiritual principles and spiritual laws. So the greatest thing is to liberate ourselves from the fear of each other. And ultimately to liberate the whole of humanity from fear itself. For we all know that the opposite of fear is love. We're liberating ourselves from fear through love. When we have no fear, there will be only love. And that sounds like a pretty good thing to me. Are you guys in? Sound good? All right then. I love you.
You have been watching the message from our Sunday celebration service here at Unity on Cape Cod, providing a positive path for spiritual living. Please join us every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. at 147 Walton Ave, Hyannis, Mass., and visit us online at unityoncapecod.org. This video was made possible in part through a grant from Unity Worldwide Ministries and the Templeton Foundation.